y'all, it's Kate from the Literary Apothecary. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to talk about 3 authors that I discovered in 2021 who've become Autobuy authors for me. Now these are relatively new authors. 2 of them now have complete series and 1 is on his way to completion. These are up-and-coming authors, like I mentioned. There are many other authors that I discovered that are established and I love and are also Autobuy authors. But these 3 I'm talking about today specifically are newer authors that I absolutely fell in love with their writing when I read them. So first up is an author that you've heard me talk about a lot on this channel, and I'm going to talk about him some more and forever because I just love him. That's Josiah Bancroft. He is the author of the Books of Babel series. It starts with Senlin Ascends and goes all the way up to The Fall of Babel, which just came out in November. And I absolutely love this series so much. So some things that I love most about the Books of Babel series is the most unique setting I've seen in my short time reading fantasy. This setting, the Tower of Babel, the proverbial Tower of Babel, essentially becomes a character in itself throughout the series, and especially in the last book we learn a lot about the tower itself. And I don't know what it is about the Tower of Babel in this series, but it just has you both rooting for it and against it, because it's essentially the biggest villain of them all. But also the setting of the place, and not really the villain because there's other villains within it, but one of the main themes throughout is that the Tower of Babel makes all of its characters. Everyone reacts to the tower in a different way based on their personalities, and it's telling who you are as a character, what your character is, how you react to the tower. Do you react in a positive sense, as some would argue Senlin does, or do you react in a negative sense, as a lot of the people in the tower are? And can you overcome those? If you react negatively, can you overcome that? I can't say the names because that'll give away spoilers, but some of our characters we see maybe overcome the negative connotations we see at first. And that's some of the things that I love about the Tower of Babel. But also the prose, it's exquisite prose, and the writing just feels both familiar and new at the same time. To me, it feels like one of my beloved classics that I love rereading all the time, but also new fantasy that I'm getting into all in the same book. And you don't often see that in books now. It also has one of my favorite characters that I read this entire year. His name is Byron, and I can't say much more about him but if you've read this series, let me know in the comments below who your favorite character is, because I absolutely love Byron, and y'all, if you've read this series, you know why. So what am I going to be reading next from Josiah Bancroft? We've got the completed series. Book 4, the final book, just came out last month. I've read it. I want to reread it already, but I also want to read his new stuff. So just very recently, Josiah Bancroft signed a deal with Orbit Books, who published the Books of Babel series, for a new series called The Hexologist. And from their website, this is a very short summary of this new series. The Hexologist introduces us to a new world and the dynamic duo of hexologists Iz and Warren Wilby, 2 private investigators who solve magical problems with magical solutions. While their usual quests are never more alarming than the occasional incubi infestation or mournful ghost haunting, their latest mission has given them an impossible task: save the king himself. And I'm just so excited for this new series. I can't wait for it to be published. I'm ready to support Josiah Bancroft with everything that I have. I will be talking about him constantly. I'll be buying his books. I'll be buying other people his books, just supporting him so much because he's also a super duper nice guy, which always helps supporting authors. My next Autobuy author that I discovered in 2021 is Fonda Lee, who wrote the Greenbone Saga. Now, these are just 2 out of the 3 books in the saga. I don't yet have Jade Legacy, which just came out, I believe, earlier this month in December. So I still need to add that. And as you can see, I'm close to halfway through in Jade War, which is book 2. But I absolutely loved Jade City, and I'm loving Jade War, what I've read so far. Already, what I've seen so far in 1.5 books by Fonda Lee, I know she'll be an Autobuy author from me. What I love about the Greenbone Saga, the real-life characters with a character for everyone. I feel like there's so many different kinds of characters in these books that there is a character that everyone can relate to. It's not the same character, which is fantastic because, you know, I love those characters that everyone can relate to, but sometimes you just want something different. I love seeing different characters that different people relate to. It just broadens the world, broadens your reading of the books and the characters. It just is fantastic. I can't say enough. We have this magic system with the jade, hence the jade theme. And it's slowly explained throughout the books, but it also doesn't feel, at least for me, doesn't feel like you're missing out on things that you don't know about. When you get to a new explanation of how the jade works and the system works, you're like, oh yeah, I knew that. And it just is refreshing to be able to come across explanations of a magic system and you're not trying to figure it out right away. You feel like you've already known that. It's already been in your head this whole time reading it. And to me, at least, still pretty new in the fantasy world. That's unusual, and I really appreciate the ease of the magic system. Like, you read it and you say, yes, that makes complete sense. That makes sense to the characters, to the world, to the material, the jade that they use the magic for. It makes sense. And so I just love that feeling of a magic system that makes complete sense, that you don't have to ask questions about, because A, you'll know that those questions will be answered eventually, and B, that it'll make sense. So I love that. Also, the world building in this series. So this takes place in a fantasy world, fantasy city Janloon, which is our main city in this saga, but the world building, you just see it expand and expand and expand and expand. Like I said, I'm about halfway through, a little less than halfway through of book 2, and already in book 2, our world has been expanded dramatically. Book 1, we were mostly in the main city of Janloon, and we kind of heard about other cities in this world, but we didn't really see a lot of them. But in Jade War, we see some of these other cities, and we see the world of the Greenbone Saga expand, and all of these different ethnicities and the different people, their different customs, and how also the Kikanese, our main people, interact in these different cities, interact with the different people, but still keep their same customs. And so I really, really love seeing this world just expanding so much. The pacing. These are, at least in my opinion, pretty quick-paced novels. They go from one event to another, but all in, just like with the magic system, they all make sense to the story that's being told. Basic premise of this saga is kind of like, it's been described as kind of the Godfather meets an Asian culture. So basically you take the Italian mafia and everything that goes around with that, and you put it in an Asian society and see how they play out there. And so because of the fast-pacedness of the mafia and, you know, all the trouble being stirred up and the killings and everything, it's pretty fast-paced. You don't sit there and dwell on one thing for too long, and I can really appreciate that because I have different appreciations for different pacings of books, but sometimes you just want a book to just go by like that. And because of the pacing, for me at least, it's a very addictive reading. I flew through Jade City, and now that I have some good reading time, I have this entire week off of work, I am making really good progress on Jade War. I hope to finish it within the next couple days because it just flies by, and that is something I can truly appreciate. So what's next for Fonda Lee now that her Green Bones saga has been completed? Well, there is a novella coming out by Subterranean Press next year, based on the Green Bones saga world. I think it's called like the Jade Setter, I forget the name of it, but I will link information down below in the description about that. But she also has this science fiction series going. We've got 3 novels out based on science fiction. I don't know if they are standalones or a series. Someone in the comments let me know. Are her science fiction books a series or a standalones? We have Zero Boxer, Exo, and Crossfire, and these are 3 books that I definitely want to get to in 2022 because I just love Fonda Lee's writing so much that I need more of it. I need it. But the last author that I have to talk about today is Nicholas Eames. Now, he is the absolute best. If y'all have been seeing my videos, you've heard me talk about him all the time. Y'all know that I did a live show with him and Jesse at the Bookish Mom and Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and we had an absolute blast. It was so much fun. He is such a nice guy and I love him. And he is the author of the Banned series. It's a trilogy. We have 2 books out now. He's working on the 3rd one right now as we speak. We've got Kings of the Wild as book 1 and Bloody Rose as book 2. And this is such a fun fantasy series, y'all. So we've got 80s musical references, which y'all know I love. And I believe book 3 has like 90s R&B rap references. We've got real life characters here, like especially the characters from book 1, Kings of the Wild. Our main characters are old, fat, retired guys that used to be part of a mercenary band that was huge, big. Everyone wanted to be like them. They retired, and now they've gathered the band back together to go and save one of their daughters. And it's just so much fun, and they are characters that I have never seen before in fantasy books. Usually when you get these heroes, they're young and fit, and even if they don't want to be heroes, they turn out to be heroes. And these guys, though, holy cow, they're so much fun. You get the swearing, you get the ridiculous jokes. The humor in these books is absolutely ridiculous. You get the fart jokes, you get the yo mama jokes, you get, you used to be like this, now you're like this. The that's what she said jokes is hilarious. But you also get serious moments, sentimental moments, especially in book 2, Bloody Rose. There are a lot of really heartbreaking and heart-touching moments in these books. You get monsters. Just about every monster that you could think of are in these books, and some you grow to love. Most of them are killed by our mercenaries because that's their job, and they have to fight through them to get to their place. Like I said, 80s, 90s music references, I'm all for it. And it is an epic fantasy that doesn't take itself seriously. When I recommend these books to people, I tell them, don't take it seriously. Go in looking for a good time and you'll be sure to have it. If you go in expecting a very serious, drama-filled, high fantasy, epic fantasy, you're not going to enjoy these books at all. But if you go in just looking for a good time, then you're in for a big, big treat. So what am I going to read next from Nicholas Eames? Book 3. I believe it's called The Outlaw Empire. So book 3 is called Outlaw Empire as of right now. Like I said, Nicholas Eames is currently writing it, and hopefully we'll get that very soon, and I just love it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend the banned series, Kings of the Wild, Bloody Rose, eventually Outlaw Empire. If you need a good laugh and you still want to stay in fantasy, please, please, please pick it up, because it's a fantastic series and Nicholas Eames is the absolute nicest guy ever. So those were 3 authors that I discovered in 2021 that are now Autobuy authors for me. Let me know in the comments below, what authors did you discover this year that are now Autobuy authors for you? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I have a new video coming out. As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. My Patreon is only $1 a month to join, so not a big financial commitment if you wanted to support me further. If not, then it's fine. Discord is free to join, and we have so much fun on Discord, but no pressure to join either. Don't forget to keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.